good. Just so, yeah, I just got done with my online class about at 1:30.
Oh, okay.
So it was fun.
Those are fun, right? Online classes.
Yeah.
Gives
So
us
much
something
fun.
to do. Yeah, gives us something to do while we're stuck in the house.
Exactly.
Right. So, well, thank you so much for being with me today and sharing some of your story with me. And we'll talk about your book. And of course, I read the book. And I have to tell you, I'm not a poetry person at all, but I absolutely love the book and I can so identify with it. It's really amazing. And my favorite poem, and it was the Depression.
Oh, really?
It was because I can so identify with that. And what really, really stuck out to me is that last sentence. And let's see if I get it together. It said, what we do to ourselves.
And nobody understands the pain that we put ourselves through.
Yes, exactly. And that really struck my heart because when I look back to what I went through and the situations, I now understand that those were not situations that God put me in, but those are situations that I put myself through.
Yes. That's the most important thing that we can take out of depression is that it really is a mental state of mind, and so much like loneliness is a state of mind that you just put yourself in. Same thing with depression. Sometimes it can be brought on by events like therapy and everything, but the thing that I learned when I was a missionary in AIM in Miami is that we have control over what happens to us, or not what happened to us, but we have control over our thought processes and what kind of state of mind that we're in. We can either choose to be happy or we can choose to be sad and depressed and just think about all that life is putting into our way, and so, but okay, which one would you choose, kind of thing.
That is so good. That is so good that you mentioned that. Like, for me, life came with forgiveness, right? I had to choose to forgive. And that was so hard to do because at first I didn't understand the process of forgiveness. I thought if I say I forgive, that meant that it was okay what was done to me. And that is not what that means at all.
No, it doesn't mean that they're off the hook.
Yes, they're not off the hook for sure. But the understanding that God is going to handle that. And He promises that in the Bible, that He will handle that. We don't have to. And that's just amazing that He can take that from us. And He takes that when we lay it down. We do have to lay it down for Him to pick it up.
Exactly, and not to go back to it over and over again and picking it back up again. Like, no, you gotta trust me that I know what I am doing, And so, and that's what I've learned recently is God knows what He's doing. And I was telling a friend this who was worried about the pandemic that's happening right now. I'm like, okay, God knows the exact time, the exact hour, the exact minute, the exact second, and exactly how it all is going to end. You know where we're going to be when He decides when, well, it's not really He decides, but when the pandemic will subside, And so we just got to trust Him and okay, God, I am full of worry and I'm scared of getting the sickness, but I know that you know what you're doing. So I'm going to trust you in that. And so, like, what a concept.
Yes, yes. I feel like, of course, the longer this goes on, I'm not going to say that I don't have anxieties about it because
Right.
we don't know, right? It's just things that you don't know, they're always kind of scary.
Yes.
They're always kind of scary. And for me, it feels like God has put all of us, the whole world really, in a timeout.
Yeah. Like, okay, you're being bad. Time out.
Yes. He is saying right now, look, I need you guys to sit and think about some stuff and think about me. Because, you know, we're taking him out of so many things where he should be first. Because God should always be first.
Yes.
So, am I anxious? A little bit. Because I am a super physical person. I hug on people all the time. We have our church meetings are on Zoom, different groups that we do are on Zoom. And it's so amazing that we have this technology that we can meet. Like you and I were meeting right now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But I'm like, okay, are we done yet? Can I go hug people?
Right. I'm a very huggy person too. Well, my physical love language is physical touch. And so, and I work as a cashier in a retail store. And so, yeah. And so when I'm at work, I can definitely tell there's fear involved. And sometimes when I'm touching customers, I kind of jerk back, you know. And so, but it's a natural human reaction for us to worry or for us to be anxious, you know. But God tells us not to be anxious about anything.
Yes,
but with prayer and petition, bring all your worries and things to God.
Yes, he sure does. And well, thank you for being in retail and deal with all of this. Like you're on the front line, and really, I see you and all people that are out there working still and just being around people all day long. You're really putting your life on the line here.
Thank you.
So we really, really appreciate what you do. So let's talk about your book.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us all about your book. What inspired you to write the book?
Well, I started writing poetry when I was in 8th grade. And so really, the book is a compilation of everything that I've been writing since high school, the end of middle school and the beginning and throughout high school is when I started writing poems. And I write, I can talk my feelings out and everything, but I can't organize them in my mind because I have ADHD and everything. But for me, writing poems was my way to get the pain out and to get to work through the trauma of what has happened to me. My life, my childhood was unstable, and I didn't really have one because of everything that was going on in my life. And so me with the process of writing that book, it just lay out my feelings before God. And if you'll notice that some of my poems, it will begin with despair or something, and then by the end of the poem, God enters in. And so he answers my questions and he answers my feelings at the end. And like, hey, you need to trust me, you know, or look at the bright side of life, you know, don't look at all of these problems that you're having.
Yes.
And the only recent one, the only recent poem that I put in there that I made 2 years ago was called When Will the Heart. And I was going through a very dark time in my life.
Yeah. So what did that process of you writing the book look like? I know when I wrote Mended Faith, that process was really hard for me. It was really, really hard, and it had to be scheduled, and I was not able to just sit and work on a chapter for hours. It wasn't a thing. I had my family pull me out of a room after 2 hours, because if not,
Oh, wow.
it would have been too much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what that process looked like for you.
Well, I didn't self-publish my book. I went through a publishing agency that a friend of mine started, and so and we had to self-format our books.
Okay.
It was so frustrating, and
Okay.
so while I was trying to format this book and everything, I actually was going to college at the same time. And so trying to handle work, college, and trying to do my book and my social life, you know. And so, but the way that I was able to order the poems that I wanted my book to be in, I actually sent that to my editor. And she looked at all my poems and she organized them for me, since I can't do it. I don't have the creativity for it. And she edited my poems. She kept almost everything that I've written in there, but there was some that needed to be changed a little bit. But punctuations and everything she took care of. But it took me a long time, like maybe 2 or 3 months to publish or to format my own book. And as soon as I was done formatting, I would send it to my publisher, and he would kick it right back to me and like, okay, you need to fix this, this, and this. And you know, the frustration of it, but it grew me in a lot of ways. And so, and then after I got done with the the formatting, my publisher took it from there, and then he made the book, and we're about to approach the first year of my book being out in May.
Yay, that's awesome. That's amazing. So while we're talking about the book, can you share with us where we can purchase your book? Where can we go buy your book?
Okay, you can publish. You can buy my book on Amazon, but for some reason you have to type in "Beauty in the Journey" by Cassandra Webb, and then it will lead you right to the book. We have a Kindle version of the book as well as the paperback. Yeah. But right now we're really pushing the hardback because we feel like the paperback is mostly geared toward the women. Mm-hmm. But with the 10 additional poems that I have in my hardback, mm-hmm. it's way more impactful, and it's just all around great. I don't get anything but praises for the hardback.
Yes, I do. I do have to order the hardback. I have the Kindle version because I didn't want to wait. I am one of those people. I want something, I want it now. And
exactly.
Oh, God's working on me with that kind of stuff for sure.
Me too.
And yeah, so I have the Kindle version, and I just completely ate it up, and it's really, really good. And I feel very powerful, very, very powerful it really touched my heart in a lot of different ways. And I love how you did put the whole, at first I was like, oh no. And then it's like, oh, yes, God. Yes, God. So it was really amazing. Can you share some of your testimony?
I would love to.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I grew up in a single mom with a single mom that dragged me through relationships with her, other men, and so I had many other father figures in my life. That's why my childhood was so unstable, and I didn't feel wanted at all. Because anytime I got close to the men, it was time for them to go. And so right now my mom is actually married to a very godly man, and I wish he was my father when I was younger. That's how alike we are and how godly he is. It's all God, not him. But I'm now even having trouble getting close to him and everything because of my past. But I didn't. Okay, hang on. When I was 2 years old, I was diagnosed with a unknown virus at the time, kind of like right now. But years that took away my hearing, so I have hearing impairment, and it also took away my vision. And then it was later on that we found out that it was spinal meningitis. And so, but throughout high school, I was harassed and stuff. And then I went through many relationships, where I went through 3 relationships. But one of the relationships that I was in, he actually emotionally abused me, as well as sexually assaulted me. But at the time, I didn't know that he assaulted me because the way he did it. And so I was more coerced than aggressively assaulted. And so I dealt with the pain for 8 years until recently. And then when I was 23 years old, I went to Lubbock, Texas, to a program called Adventures in Missions. And it was Adventures in Missions in Lubbock, Texas, is an apprenticeship program that teaches kids from the age of 18 years old to the age of 26 how to become a missionary and to share the Bible and everything within 8 months. And at the end of the 8 months, you have like 600 hours underneath your belt. And so, I know. And then in December, you're placed into teams. And the team that I went on was to Miami, Florida, where I spent 18 months down there. And it was down there when I decided to battle the giant of emotional overeating. And so I had to face my past and everything again down there. And through a program called Celebrate Recovery. Celebrate Recovery is a great program for people with hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And it's a Christ-centered program, which I absolutely love, and everything. And then I came up back up to Lubbock, Texas, to go to school to pursue a social work degree. And then it was while I was in it was during my first semester of school when I came out of denial about the sexual assault by my boyfriend at the time. And so that was when I started turning away from God and being so mad at God. And like, why why didn't you protect me? You said that you would protect me, but why didn't you protect me during that emotional time of my life, you know? And so I was asking God so many questions and everything. I would go to church, but I would only go there for the attendance and to be around my friends. I wasn't really reading the Bible or anything. And then a year ago, that's when I started this program or this therapy called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy, or EMDR for short. And oh my goodness, this therapy is so good. Because within 3 to 6 months, the pain from the emotional and the sexual abuse that I dealt with for 8 years, I was finally able to break free from those trauma bonds that I had with my abuser. I'm able to finally get mad enough whenever his memory comes up in my mind and I want to contact him and everything. I'm able to finally get mad enough and say, no, you do not deserve to be in my life. You took everything from me. And so, and you made me believe all these lies, you know. Yeah. And right now we're working through some other, we're working through childhood trauma right now. And I'm where I'm at today by the grace of God. And it was during EMDR that I came to like, hey, I'm wanted, you know, even though my whole world rejected me when I was little, God was always there, you know, and he will always be there for me.
A lot of times we just don't know. And then later on, when we look back, it's like, wow, he was there this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I always called my freshman year in high school my depression year. That's when because I was working on forgiving my father for leaving me, my biological father. He left before I was even born. And so, and I didn't come to that realization until I was 10 years old. And when I was also 10 years old, my best friend was taking my CPS. And so I literally had no one because she was my only friend.
Yeah. So once you started therapy, that's when you became closer with God again?
Yes, and it's a work in progress. Yeah, it's always a work in progress, and it's a relationship, really. You know, I remember when I was throughout the therapy session when you're facing the giants as your trauma and everything, you're going to be expected to be depressed. You know, because you're dealing with all the feelings and everything. Well, when I was depressed, I remember scrolling through YouTube, and I found this YouTube video by Danny Goki called Wanted. And God speaks to me through songs. He knows that I love singing and I love Christian music. And so when he really wants me to hear something, he'll either be blunt about it or he'll do songs. And the song Wanted by Danny Goki was just at the right time. I bawled my eyes out when I heard that one because it's like I was there the moment that it happened, but you couldn't see me through the pain. It's one of the lyrics of the video. I caught every tear that was falling when you lost your heart that day. Yeah, you lost your heart that day.
Yes.
And so, And I'm seeing him through prayer as well. That's why prayer life is so important to for your mental health as well. Is because it's not. Some people think that prayer is to change your external circumstances, but really it changes you from the inside. And for me, when I started praying, I started seeing answers. And like I told somebody, like because we were doing humility, a plan over humility,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, so we need to ask ourselves every day. We need to ask God every day to give us opportunities to be humble. And as soon as
Yes.
I walked out of the break room and went back onto my register, it gave me an opportunity.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I see you. I see you, God.
Yes. He does that. He really does that. And it's just absolutely amazing to me. I didn't grow up in a church. I
Oh,
never
wow.
thought about God. I never read a Bible. It just wasn't a thing. I didn't
I
walk into a
understand.
church until I was 40 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So it's been a trip.
I bet.
Praying is, to me, praying is so powerful. That's me having that relationship with God and the way He answers, just like He answered you, and He's just so amazing. He
Yes,
really
he is.
is. Tell me about your favorite Bible verse.
My favorite Bible verse came when I was a freshman in high school. And is that right if I read it?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Hang on. Wrong app. My favorite Bible verse came when I was struggling with the idea that I wasn't wanted in high school and that I wasn't enough to keep my father around,
Mm-hmm.
because he chose his drug life over me.
Mm-hmm.
Mom gave him that ultimatum,
Mm.
and which was a good one, And so, but my favorite Bible verse comes from Isaiah 43, and it's 1 through 4. Hang on. I'm passing it. This was also a church song. And that's how I came across the Bible verse as well. Okay, Isaiah 43, 1 through 4. But now, this is what the Lord says. He who created you, Jacob, he who formed you, Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I give Egypt for your ransom, Cush and Seba in your stead. Since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you, I will give people in exchange for you, nations in exchange for your place.
Ah,
And
amen. That is
yes,
so beautiful. It's so
and,
beautiful.
and you know what?
Go ahead.
That's what God did. That's what He did for us. That He gave Jesus on the cross
Yes.
for our hearts. And I looked through the entire Bible,
Mm-hmm.
but in Isaiah 43, 1 through 4, it's the only place you can see God say the words, I love you. The
Yes.
rest of it is shown in actions.
Mm-hmm. But it's
So that's why
beautiful.
my favorite.
And He does. He does
Yes.
love you so
Mm-hmm.
much. And He will never stop loving you. And
No.
He will never leave nor forsake you. Never.
No, never.
Thank you
And
so much
that is
for
so
sharing that.
comforting. You're
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing that in your testimony. And so, where could somebody, if they struggle and they need help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where would they find that therapy that you use?
Well, therapy, this EMDR therapy is not one that you can do but just by yourself, and it's not a talk therapy. There are actually you actually have to get a therapist needs to have a certification of them being able to do EMDR. And so I I just found mine because one of my friends on Facebook was a social worker and a therapist, and she posted in her newsfeed that she had her certificate, and so that's how I found out about it. And so I'm pretty certain that you can look for EMDR therapist online.
Okay, so if somebody's interested in checking that out, they can go to EMDR online.
Mm-hmm.
It's EMDR
Yes.
therapy. And go ahead.
And if they want to know what EMDR therapy is all about before going to the therapist and have actually not going to therapy with a blind eye to what it all is, there are hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube that talks about EMDR therapy and what they have to go through to do it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that information. Because again, it's the things that we don't know that it does make us anxious, right?
Yes.
So looking that up first, kind of have an idea of what we're getting into, it always helps. It really, really does.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. Is there something else that you would like to share with me or our viewers?
If you are struggling with depression or anxiety and you feel like no one's there, I want you to hold on to these two truths. That in Hebrews, somewhere in Hebrews, I think it's 13:5, God said that He will never leave us nor forsake us. And we can't, God is not a liar, you know. And so when He promises us something in our life, we have to believe it with a childlike faith.
Yes.
And like it, okay, if He said that He's not going to leave us, okay, you're here, and just know that you're never alone, and have good support system. I would not have made it through my depression, 6 months of depression when I was going through my trauma therapy, if it wasn't for my good friend Deborah, who has been down the same exact path that I was on and had the same exact story that I had. But she pulled out to the other side of it. And she's a godly woman as well. And so have those godly friends in your life that you can vent to without judgment. And it's so important to not judge people. And it's so important to find people that will not judge you. And they're just there to listen and point out the lies that you're believing about yourself. I mean, like, hey, that's not God who God says you are. You have a powerful story that you need to tell the world.
Yes, that's it. And if we share our stories and our testimonies, the people that need to hear it, that feel so alone, and they feel like they can't do it for another day, God will bring that message to their lives.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you so, so much, Cassandra, to be with us today. and sharing your story. And also, you have a Facebook page that we can check in on you and see what you're up to.
Yes.
The Facebook page we'll just find you under Cassandra Webb.
Yes, author.
Yes, author. And what we're going to do, of course, at the end of this, we're going to have all that information and the links, the different links to where
Down
they
below.
can purchase your book. Yes, down below. That's where it's going to be. So we can get that book out there. It really, really touched me. And I know it's going to touch and change so many lives.
Thank you.
It's very transparent. Even though it's poetry, it's so transparent. I was able to feel your pain by reading it. And I felt God in that.
Thank you.
How he picked you up and said, look, baby girl, I'm here.
Yes.
I got you. Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll stay in touch.
Yes.
Awesome. You have a wonderful afternoon. And you stay safe out there with all this madness going on right now.
I know, right? So you stay safe too.
Okay, God bless you.
God bless.
Okay, bye.
Bye.